months. The text opens by enunciating the basis on which the community define and distinguish themselves. All members must enter into a covenant before God to obey all his commandments, and he who practices such obedience will be cleansed from all his sins. Adherence to the law is accorded a paramount position among the various terms by which the community's members are designated. One finds keepers of the covenant and those who have zeal for the law. Among the rituals stipulated, there is cleansing and purification by baptism, not just once, but apparently every day. Daily prayers are also specified at dawn and at sunset, involving recitations of the law, and there is a ritually purified meal of the congregation, a meal very similar, as the scrolls attest, to the Last Supper of the so-called early church. The community rule speaks too of the council of the community, made up of 12 men and possibly a further 3 priests. We have already discussed the interesting echoes of the cornerstone or keystone image in relation to the council of the community. But the scroll also states that the council shall preserve the faith in the land with steadfastness and meekness, and shall atone for sin by the practice of justice, and by suffering the sorrows of affliction. In their eagerness to distance the Qumran community from Jesus and his entourage, scholars promoting the consensus of the international team stress that the concept of atonement does not figure in Qumran teachings, and that Jesus is to be distinguished from Qumran's teacher of righteousness in large part by virtue of his doctrine of atonement. The community rule, however, demonstrates that atonement figured as prominently in Qumran as it did with Jesus and his followers in the so-called early church. Finally, the community role introduces the Messiah, or perhaps Messiahs, in the plural. Members of the community walking in the way of perfection are obliged to adhere zealously to the law until there shall come the prophet and the messiahs of Aaron and Israel. This reference is usually interpreted as meaning 2 distinct messiahs, 2 equally regal figures, one descended from the line of Aaron, one from the established line of Israel, the line of David and Solomon. But the reference may also be to a dynasty of single messiahs descended from, and uniting both lines in the context of the time. Of course, Messiah does not signify what is later comes to signify in Christian tradition. It simply means the anointed one, which denotes